Hawaii has always attracted a large number of visitors. Before the pandemic hit, the state would host over 220,000 tourists every month, which was already becoming a problem for the island state. Once COVID hit, people continued to pour in, most of whom were eager to escape the boredom that accompanied the lockdowns. Stick around to see why traveling to Hawaii might not be the best idea right now. First off, Hawaii is dealing with the shortage of natural resources. The presence of the U.S. military alongside over-tourism has resulted in a water crisis for the residents of Hawaii. Plus, Navy fuel has severely contaminated the water supplies, which has in turn posed risk to those who consume it. In December 2021, one resident's water supply was affected by a leak in the Red Hill Bulk Fuel Facility, which is meant to protect underground fuel from aerial attacks. Despite the Navy's insistence that the water supplies were safe, the resident's nephew had to be rushed to the hospital after having taken a shower that caused his body to swell up. The next day, his fiancée developed chest pains, rashes, and diarrhea after taking a shower. The 14,000-gallon leak forced the residents to reach a breaking point, and on March 7th, the Department of Defense announced that it would shut down the Red Hill facility. Since its existence during World War II, the facility has leaked almost 180,000 gallons of jet fuel. Besides the U.S. military, tourists are also significantly worsening the problem for the residents. As people continue to visit the state, Hawaiians are unable to water their lawns, wash their cars, and partake in a number of non-essential activities. Turns out, the tourism industry is responsible for consuming up to 44.7% of the water and responsible for creating 10.7% of the state's waste. If that wasn't enough, climate change is only exacerbating the threat to the water supply of Hawaii. To understand the effect of climate change, we need to look back to the events after the Hawaiian kingdom was overthrown in 1893. After the nation was formally annexed, the sugar industry used the water until 1978, when water was finally returned to the trust of the public. The rise of the sugar crop increased deforestation in the nation. Without forests, water wasn't being released into the atmosphere and causing the islands to become drier. Second, there's a bit of a housing shortage affecting Hawaii. Hawaii's economy was seriously hurt when the pandemic hit. People lost their jobs and were unable to afford a myriad of necessities. Many visitors with means moved to Hawaii during this period and were able to afford the rising living costs. The average cost of a house in Oahu rose from $789,000 to $1.15 million during the pandemic. In addition, a quarter of the properties purchased were by out-of-state buyers. Hawaiians are beginning to feel like second-class citizens in their state. Like water, tourists are easily able to afford housing, which has left many Hawaiians homeless. The nation has one of the highest per capita rates of homelessness in the country. It's no wonder that natives in Hawaii are finally demanding a change. Hang around to learn more about how over-tourism impacts Hawaii. Thirdly, Hawaii's tourism industry is huge. While COVID regulations may have eased all over the country, Hawaii was one of the last states to do so. Up until August, COVID cases in the state were on the rise, mainly due to tourists who were no longer required to social distance or insulate themselves after arrival. During the majority of the lockdown between 2020 and 2021, locals and tourists blatantly broke all the safety protocols in place and continuously ignored quarantine regulations. Only 4% of the nation's population is made up of native Hawaiians, but they made up 30% of the COVID patients in August 2020. The tourism industry has taken it upon itself to spread awareness and educate these visitors to help preserve the environment. The program has been able to partner with various hotels and airlines to ensure that guests receive the message. The goal of the Mālama program can be understood in simple words. When a person is invited as a guest to someone's place of residence, they're expected to treat that space with respect. Applying the same logic, when tourists visit Hawaii, they should not leave their trash behind and understand the responsibility. It's important to understand the culture of the place you're visiting and treat its environment with the respect it deserves. Hawaiian Airlines began airing a video on their flights, reminding guests flying into the country to follow various guidelines to protect the wildlife and environment. The video reminds visitors to avoid using sunscreen that can harm the reefs, to keep their distance from endangered animals, and be wary of rip currents. But what do residents think of over-tourism in Hawaii? Hawaii is a beautiful place, which makes it one of the most popular destinations in the world. Natural attractions, beautiful islands, with plenty of history and culture make it a top destination. As a major destination, the nation's tourism industry is one of the largest industries in the state. As observed previously, the COVID-19 pandemic did little to deter travelers from visiting. In April alone, tourists spent $1 billion. But just because the tourism industry is profitable, once again, doesn't mean it's best for the nation. The lives of the native Hawaiians have been negatively impacted, from water scarcity in the state to leaks in their already scarce water supplies, and to rising costs of living in the country. residents have had a tough time living in their native land. In 2021, there were 1.4 million permanent residents when compared to 6.7 million tourists. Carbon emissions rose during this period, for which tourists were mainly responsible. Things are so bad that the state has been named the extinction capital of the world. Hawaii imports 90% of its goods, making them almost unaffordable for most of the residents and natives. As previously stated, the rising costs of housing have also forced many Hawaiians to become homeless over time. The problem is simple. The demand for housing in Hawaii is much higher than the supply. Despite the rising costs, billionaires such as Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg have been able to continue increasing the size of their estates. If matters continue in this way, natives will have to spend decades trying to reclaim their lands. While residents understand that their economy greatly relies on the tourism industry, they also believe various measures can help matters for both tourists and residents. A new system will require tourists to make a reservation if they want to visit major landmarks and parks in Hawaii. With this system in place, the state will be able to curb traffic and not put a burden on the state's natural resources. In addition, fees for parking and entries will also be able to maintain these popular attractions. Before the pandemic, Hanauma Bay Nature Preserve in Oahu would receive almost 3,000 visitors in a single day. The new system will cap entries at 720 visitors, all of whom will have to watch an educational video to learn about marine life. Oahu is also working to instate a regenerative tourism fee that would apply to all visitors. The fee may be charged within the price of the airline ticket or be applicable upon port entry. These fees, while not significant for the traveler, will do wonders to support conservation and environmental programs in Hawaii. The Malama program, as mentioned previously, helps in attracting mindful travelers. These visitors are rewarded with free stays at hotels if they agree to help clean beaches or plant trees. The program has been met with enthusiasm, as many travelers feel they leave behind a legacy while enjoying one of the most beautiful destinations in the United States. Unfortunately, the well-known image of Hawaiian culture has been significantly altered by colonialism. When one thinks of Hawaii, one thinks of pineapples on pizza and girls in grass skirts. Today, chefs are keen on including local Hawaiian ingredients such as breadfruit. Luau's aren't simply meant to be entertaining, but also educational. The lei received upon arrival will now be made from local flowers instead of the orchids that were imported for very high costs. And finally, are you wondering how you can support Hawaii? Many residents have simply urged tourists to no longer visit Hawaii. The book, Detours, A Decolonial Guide to Hawaii, asks readers to take immediate action. It delves in the nation's tumultuous past and details the negative impact of militarization, tourism, and colonization. Even if you don't plan on visiting Hawaii, the book offers readers an in-depth look at the backing that the nation requires. The tourists demand a lot from Hawaii, but the writers explain that it's time for the tourists to begin a relationship of support if tourists and residents are expected to thrive. In short, the editors state, sometimes the best way to support decolonization and Kanakaoiwi, Native Hawaiian resurgence, is to not come as a tourist to our home. And there you have it. Hawaii may seem like the perfect travel destination, but it's time for visitors to begin understanding the locals' perspective. If you'd like to share any resources to support Hawaiians reclaiming their land, let us know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you would like to continue seeing more videos like this. Thanks for watching.